Today, I'm going to be talking about John Wick 1, 2, and 3 because there's a lot to be said about these movies, especially the fact that John Wick is set inside the same world as the Matrix. P.S.
Spoilers!
Now I reckon most people probably noticed in John Wick 3 when John Wick says he needs lots of guns, which is the same line that Neo used in The Matrix. But did you also notice in John Wick 2 when the Bowery King is telling the story of how he met John Wick, he says that John gave him a choice between life and death, which is kinda the same choice that Morpheus gives to Neo, with the exception being that Morpheus is a lying cunt, but that's another story. But since this video is not being directed by Quentin Tarantino, let's just start at the beginning with John Wick Chapter 1. Here's what I like about John Wick 1. Willem Dafoe is in it. Anytime I see Willem Dafoe in a movie, I'm like, he's gonna be the bad guy. Willem Dafoe always plays bad guys. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in real life he's Billie Eilish's dad. Well, granddad, because it's kind of old to be honest. And throughout this movie, they make it look like, yeah, Willem Dafoe is gonna be the bad guy. Except, plot twist, he wasn't. But then he still gets killed at the end anyway, so I don't know. Willem Dafoe just can't catch a break, really. Like, I saw him in a movie once where he played Madonna's love interest. A few years after that, he was in Speed 2. I mean, this dude literally went from getting blown to getting blown up. Anyway, the main thing about John Wick Chapter 1 is John Wick is a retired assassin that's mourning the death of his wife. And then some meddling kids steal his dog and kill his car. Strike that, reverse it. And thus, John Wick goes on a murderous rampage to get his revenge. Pause. If you knew someone whose car got stolen and dog got killed, and that person went out and murdered 77 people in return, I think it's safe to say that's a guy with some serious mental health issues. Like, this is not a very well-grounded human being at all. I mean, yeah, your car getting stolen, your dog getting killed, that's terrible, no doubt. But this dude literally kills more people in one movie than Jack Bauer did in an entire season. It's a bit much, don't you think? You know what would be a more interesting story? How John Wick got married. I mean, it's hard to think somebody that volatile was able to maintain a healthy relationship. He was probably beating his wife. I mean, I'm just saying, John Wick is a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic. Anyway, after Super Mario died, Luigi left the family business and became a mechanic. Shredder, after way too many run-ins with the Ninja Turtles, became a Russian bouncer. And I know I said Willem Dafoe wasn't the bad guy, but he kind of is. I mean, the truth is they're all bad guys. They're killers, wife beaters, but the worst amongst them are the staff at the Continental Hotel because they're Apple users. Oh, and by the way, after Spider-Man 3, I guess the Daily Bugle must have fell on some hard times. I mean, apparently J. Jonah Jameson was moonlighting as a cleaner for a criminal organization. Anyway, the movie ends with John Wick breaking into an animal shelter so he can steal medical supplies and a dog. John Wick Chapter 2. So John Wick Chapter 2 starts off with John Wick going to get his car back from Viggo's brother because after he killed nearly 100 people, at no point anybody thought, hey, maybe we should just say sorry and leave him alone. Actually, to be fair, the idea to just give his car back does come up, but Viggo's brother vetoes it, saying, no, he killed my nephew, he killed my brother. But in a Russian accent. And Viggo did kinda try to make peace in Chapter 1, but John just hung the phone up on him because he's a mentally unstable, psychopathic, wife-beating thief. I mean, look, you saw how many people he killed over a puppy and a car. You know the story of John Wick killing 3 men with a pencil. And this guy is a time-traveling, samurai cop, vampire slayer that's been pissed off ever since he got bullied by Paula Abdul's friends in that Rush Rush video. Oh, and apparently John Wick 2 is set in the past because Barry Chuckle looks proper young here, innit? Anyway, the main thing about John Wick Chapter 2 is that somebody from John Wick's past, in fact is the guy that helped him escape the assassin's life in the first place, comes back to ask a favor. And John, being the mentally unstable, psychopathic, wife-beating thief that he is, refuses to help. And because he refuses, Santino blows up John's house. Now, any rational thinking person would be like, hey, this sucks, but I did refuse to honor the marker. Maybe I should just claim the insurance and leave it there. But no, John Wick is a mentally unstable, psychopathic, wife-beaten, thieving egomaniac that feels he was wrong and decides to go ahead and kill a total of 128 people. I'm just saying. It's a bit much, don't you think? Anyway, Wick eventually honors the marker and goes to kill Santino's sister. Then Santino sends Batwoman to kill Wick, fails, while Common is also trying to kill Wick, fails. And by the way, John gives Common the same life or death choice that he gave the Bowery King, so it seems there's a lot to do with choices in these movies. Sounds kind of familiar, don't it? John kills Santino, but he kills him inside a Continental hotel, which is against the rules of the high table. So now, John is on the run with a $14 million bounty on his head, which leads us into John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. By the way, Parabellum is a Latin word that means prepare for war, which makes sense because if you don't prepare, you'd have a really big Parabellum. Boom. So by now, John Wick is excommunicado, which means no one is allowed to help him. But right before that kicks in, John goes to see the doctor. Now here's the thing about this scene, and to be fair, lots of movies and TV shows do this, but it's still dumb. So when John enters the doctor's office, the doctor peeks his head out to look to see if anybody saw him. Like, dude, if anybody saw you, it's already too late. And you know what makes it even doubly stupid? Is that at the end of the scene, the doctor says, they'll know that I helped you. So if he knows that they'll know, then surely he knows that there was no point in checking because we all know. You know? Anyway, the main thing about John Wick Chapter 3 is that he has to go to Casablanca to get help from the one who sits above the high table. Which, I don't know, that just sounds uncomfortable to me. You know, that's some odd feng shui got going on there, but whatever. So he gets to Casablanca by first getting help from Morticia Addams. And you know how he kept holding up that crucifix to her? You know, considering her family history, a little bit disrespectful. Now, because Morticia Addams helps John Wick, the high table send the adjudicator and Jimmy Lee to go cut her hands. And by the way, does anyone else think that Mark DeCassis kind of looks like what Charlie Brown will look like as an adult? Oh, and speaking of adjudicators, what do you call a religious female that hates men? A Jew-dick-hater. Now you must remember this. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. John Wick gets to Casablanca and he gets help from Halle Berry. And also that scene when John Wick and Halle Berry are parting ways and Halle Berry backwashes the water and gives it to him. I'd still drink that. You know, just putting it out there. I would drink Halle Berry's backwash water. I don't even have to be thirsty. Not ashamed to say it. Anyway, John gets to the one who sits above the high table because he apparently doesn't know how furniture works, and he agrees to remove the bounty from John's head. However, John must kill Winston and anybody else that he asks him to. Now, John agrees, but when he gets back to New York, he decides nah, because he's a mentally unstable, psychopathic, wife-beating, thieving, egomaniacal liar. Like, why are we rooting for this guy? He clearly needs special help. And by the way, while all this is happening, John Wick kills 94 people, which means there is a total of 299 people, plus however many non-John Wick kills dead, all dead because of a car and a dog, which yes, it's sad. I'm just saying, it's a bit much, don't you think? But hey, what's hundreds of people dead when anyone who hasn't been unplugged is a potential agent? So John Wick and Winston go to war with the high table, and by that I mean John Wick and Sharon go to war. Winston just sits in the gun safe, and the rest of the staff are really just there to get shot. So the shooting is now over. Winston and the high table agree to kiss and make up. Winston shoots John. John falls from the top of the hotel, but when the Jew dick hater goes to check on the body, of course he's not there. He was taken to the Bowery King, where they both declare they are really pissed off. The end. Now let's just jump into it. Well, actually, before we get into this, just a few more things to mention. The reloads in these movies are amazing. Like, there's various times throughout these movies where we watch John Wick reload his gun, and there's no cuts, no edits, nothing like that. Just a single take of watching John Wick reload the gun. But it's often done when there's people shooting around him, or he's holding somebody down while reloading a weapon or dodging bullets, and it all just adds to the intensity. Also, the phrase "be seeing you" gets used a few times throughout these movies as well, but it's used in different contexts. So it's not really clear what they mean by it. Vigo and Batwoman both say it right before they die, as if to say, be seeing you in the next life. But earlier, Batwoman says, be seeing you to John in a hotel, as if to say, I'm going to be the one that kills you.
So that was a fucking lie.
John also says, be seeing you to Morticia Adams' guards, as if to say, I'm gonna kill you. But then they reply saying, be seeing you, as if to say, yeah, catch you later, bro. So I don't know, maybe it just has multiple meanings, I don't know. And the high table seemed to be conveniently stupid. They knew all about who helped John Wick down to how many bullets the Bowery King gave him, yet they couldn't figure out that John didn't actually kill Gianna D'Antonio. Furthermore, if all these marker favor things are kept in a ledger, then surely the high table knew that it was Santino that put the hit out on his own sister so he can take a spot at the table. And if they knew that, why were they still given a spot at the high table? And that bit where Sharon and John Wick are fighting the high table army, Sharon knew that the high table had armor upgrades, yet they still went out there with pea shooters and level 1 body armor. Oh man, the audacity! And if you got that reference, put it in the comments. Now, if you liked the John Wick movies, definitely check out these movies. I don't know if these are what directly inspired the John Wick movies, but my guess would be that they are. They're all by John Woo, you know, another JW, and these are pretty much what pioneers a type of gun battle action sequences that the John Wick movies use a lot of, so yeah, check them out. Anyway, how is this set in the same world as The Matrix? Well, maybe not the exact same world as The Matrix, but you know, a world like it. Remember, The Matrix that we see in the movies was not the first Matrix that was built. So what I'm really saying is, the John Wick worlds that we see in those movies is another Matrix worlds that the machines built sometime after Agent Smith screwed everything up. Now first, consider the facts that the John Wick movies make absolutely no sense at all. For example, John Wick is supposed to be this top assassin, but everybody knows who he is. Literally everybody. The cop, the cab driver, everybody. Everybody knows who John Wick is, except for the 3 meddling kids that stole his car and killed his dog. Really? Even though one of those meddling kids is the son of a former associate. Really? Also, consider the fact that John Wick has evidently kept his skills sharp all these years, yet 3 meddling kids were able to sneak upon him and beat him up. Really? Or maybe he just hadn't downloaded yet. Also, what's wrong with John Wick's house? He's got this nice expensive looking house, but cheap windows? Really? Also, when John was fighting that guy in the New York Public Library, they're making all that noise, yet nobody calls the Ghostbusters? Really? Also, John gets knocked out and captured by Vigo. Vigo, who knew all about John Wick, who must have known that would be his one chance to kill him, but doesn't even try. Really? Also, how many languages does John Wick speak or understand? I counted 7. English, Russian, Italian, Hebrew, Indonesian, sign language, and horse whispering. And that's not including the Latin he has tattooed on his back. So John Wick is a highly skilled assassin, extremely proficient in firearms and hand combat, that also found time to learn 7 languages. Really? He was definitely beating his wife, right? People that brilliant have the most amount of skeletons in their closet. Also, how many times does John Wick get run over or fall off or down something all within, what, a 3-week period? And he can still stand, run, and fight? Really? Also, consider the facts that the High Table has a call center. A secret criminal organization has a call center, which, you know, to be fair, is not that far-fetched. But a call center with no Indians working there? Really? Also, that bit where John Wick and Common are shooting at each other in public, and the other bit where all those guys were getting shot or stabbed in a crowded train station and no one notices a thing? Really? Actually, it is New York, so yeah, right. So yeah, these movies don't add up. Unless the world isn't real. It's just a wall that's been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. But anyway, the real question that everybody wants to know is, are John Wick and Neo the same person? Well, Neo died at the end, so that pretty much ends that theory. Yeah. Or did he? did Neo die? I mean, we don't really get a kill confirmed. And remember, the Oracle did say that we might see him again. And remember Morpheus said that as long as there is life in Neo, he would never give up? Sound kind of familiar? And remember the Oracle said to Neo, you're not the one. You're waiting for something. Your next life, maybe. Who knows? I remember how Halle Berry's guard kept changing between calling him Mr. Wick and Mr. Jonathan, and then said Halle Berry was waiting for him, and then said Halle Berry waits for no man. Like, dude, make your mind up. Also, remember when Winston opened the account on John Wick? The authorization code was a series of 5 ones to be opened in 1 hour, making a total of 6 ones. Neo, the chosen one, was the 6th systemic anomaly. And if we add up all the bounties placed on John Wick's head, 2, 4, 7, 14 and 15, that comes to 42. Now if we divide 42 by 3, the number of John Wick movies, that's 14. Now if you take 1 and 4 and add them together, that's 5. And then, yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with that one, to be honest, so yeah. But remember in The Matrix Reloaded what Monica Babubi said about those two guys? That they're from an older version of The Matrix, but they're hard to get rid of because not many people keep silver bullets in their guns, which is a reference to vampires, and we know vampires exist in The Matrix because the Oracle said so, so maybe Neo/John Wick is a vampire, but more like the vampires from Blade and not the pansy ones from Twilight. So he still ages, but he ages slowly. Also, I think Halle Berry is an unplugged as well, because she's got those badass fighting skills, she can talk to dogs, and she was all hell bent on not helping John Wick because a high table might go find their daughter, and then pretty much right away is like, yeah, I'm gonna help John Wick. Like, how quickly did she forget about her child? Or maybe it's because her daughter is a bitch. I mean, you know, her daughter is one of her dogs, not what you were thinking. Apparently dog owners in the John Wick Matrix are pretty psychotic people, whereas cat owners are a bit more rational, which just goes to show cats are better than dogs, which is really what this whole video is about, because old people like me don't bother with making points. And that is what I think of cats versus dogs. What do you think? Cats are better than dogs? Or are you a mentally unstable, psychopathic, wife-beaten, thieving, egomaniacal liar? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.